All right, guys, welcome to the Front Row Dads podcast. And if you're here for the first time, I'm your host, John Vroman. Today, I am joined by my beautiful wife, Tatyana. And if you're listening to this, we're actually recording a video, and we're not in some fancy studio that has all the different mic hooks up. So we're going to actually share one mic today, and we're going to have a conversation about what's going on inside the Vroman house. And this show is actually inspired by one of our listeners who had said, hey, I'd love to hear you and Tatyana have a conversation sometime about family life. And I think it's actually perfectly fitting that it is, we're looking at the clock right now, and I have a call in 25 minutes. We've been trying to record this podcast since this morning about 8 a.m. and have failed several times. We had to take a moment just a second ago to sit on the couch and just kind of calm our energy and to recenter because there's so much going on. Today is a very full day, but I want to thank my gorgeous wife here for joining me on the show. And we're going to talk about what's going on. So first of all, welcome to your first Front Row Dads podcast interview.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Here's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to start by talking about what's going great in the house. And by the way, we have no problem talking about what's not going well. But I also think that I also believe that focusing on what's right is an opportunity to share best practices, which is equally, if not arguably more important than sharing what's wrong. Because when it's going right, we found solutions, we found things that are working, and we want to tell you those things. But trust me, there's a lot going in the wrong direction, it feels at times. Would you agree with that?
Positive inquiry, John Berghoff.
Positive inquiry, right. Appreciative inquiry. So here's where we're going to start. Appreciative inquiry. Yeah, but that is positive. It's a strengths-based inquisition, right, of what's going great. These are our notes from today, and we're going to talk about a few of these things. And we wanted to start off by talking about us, the two of us. And we've been working on us, well, for 13 years, but even more so, I think, intensely over the last couple of years. And as I've shared with the guys multiple times, that we've gone through a couple of rough patches, like one or two. Just one. I mean, one rough patch. But we've learned a lot through those difficult times. And so I want to talk about some of the things. When I say us, I'm not talking just our marriage, but like the Vroman family. So do you want to start off by talking about what do you think is great? Tatyana Vroman, everybody.
We quit drinking coffee 1 week ago.
Woohoo! We got tea.
Green tea.
Green tea.
I'm very proud of us. So currently we're not addicted to anything except for love.
Why do we quit coffee?
Well, just because there's more evidence for that it's not good for us than that it's bad for us. And if I was to be honest with myself and listen to my body, I feel dehydrated. The ups and downs are just too much for me to handle. And, wake up in a horrible mood until I have a cup of coffee. And just all the signs, they're just not balanced. That doesn't scream health to me when you wake up and you're like, leave me alone, I need a cup of coffee. Not good. So we substituted now for green drink and the Organifi and green tea. And it feels really, really good.
I've personally noticed, and I don't know if you have too, and I don't want to admit this because I love coffee, right? And I crave, like I go to bed dreaming about that morning cup of coffee, but I do feel also more in control of my emotions when I don't have like the jittery, adrenaline boosting, cortisol releasing coffee flooding my veins. I feel more in control, and emotional mastery is one of our pillars. So I think that's been a good thing. What about our morning circle? I know there's a win and there's also a failure there, but talk about that a little bit.
So it's a really good idea, and I do go to sleep like excited about the morning circle next morning because there's so many reasons to teach kids, to plan your day, to talk about what we're gonna do and what we're excited about doing. And then there is also gathering everybody first thing in the morning, and that we have felt more times that we've done it. because Ocean is totally not into it. He's 5, obviously. And then Tiger is not into it at all, although it feels like he should be into it. So the only ones that are into it is John and I, and we can't even pull ourselves together because we just quit drinking coffee, and we're just pretty. Things are pretty hard in the mornings. Yeah.
And what's the spirit of it? What's the goal? What's the intent?
The intent, I think, is hearing each other's intentions for the day, and knowing each other's intentions. We can support each other in getting it done, and then when we huddle again at night, we can talk about, did we hit those goals, and then if we did, then we can celebrate it together. That to me, that's the intent. So bringing us together as a family. So John's goals are my goals, and that's first of all, and then of course teaching kids that the importance of setting intentions and goals first thing.
Yeah, I thought that this morning circle idea of getting everybody together, getting on the same page, and we've experimented with different ideas behind it. Like Monday was Map It Out Monday. We talk about the whole week as a family, and Friday would be this follow-up Friday where we'd ask, how did the week go? And then each of the days of the week, each person, me, you, and Tiger would take a lead on that day. That was the intent. And so far, what's happened, and so there's always hey, what's ideal and what actually happens, is that we have sat down several times and we have talked about, hey, what's going on today? Mm-hmm. And if that's all that happens, I feel like that's a big victory. Do you? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not giving up. I think we're going to keep trying until the kids will just realize that this is not going anywhere. And, we might as well start participating.
And I think it's also a great strategy for people who are finding it difficult to connect in the evening around dinner, because sometimes with sports and all the things that are happening, it's, and even from an energy level, you might say you're more tired in the morning, but there's also an alertness, there's a focus, there's hey, the day is still ahead of you, which is a really great time to meet up and huddle up and figure out what's next. So that's been cool. Let's talk about traveling a little bit. Something you said recently that I thought was a good victory was we were on the road for 3 weeks, and we were in Ohio for the Front Row Foundation Summit. We had a week vacation with our extended family, with my mom and dad and sister and niece, and then also right into Fambundance, which was an amazing event. But when all that was done, we were coming home. You had said something about how much you love coming home. Can you speak to that for a minute?
I don't remember what did I say exactly. Well, it feels so good to know that what you have built is so good. To that Monday through Friday is actually my favorite time.
That's what you said, yeah.
And there's a beauty in mundane, and I think we're so blessed that our mundane is so sweet. I love our routines. I love our progresses. I love us together. It's really good, and I think it has a lot to do with finding the right place to live. And for us, it is Austin. We came here 3 years ago, and things just started unraveling. It just, and I believe it's the energy of the city and the people that we found. It's just all matches us so well. When we were in New Jersey, we were stuck. I felt stuck. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's good. So if you feel stuck, keep looking for that right place that will support you and will help you open up.
I think it's a beautiful thing to love your life so much that when you're on quote unquote vacation that you can't wait to get back home. And I thought that was just such a sweet thing you said, and I agreed with it 100%. What is it about, we didn't talk about this, we didn't prep for this at all, but like, what is it about your routine specifically that you love? Like, what is it specifically about our house, our neighborhood, Austin, your routine, what you do every day that you are in love with? And even the little things, like it could be the tiniest little things. Like I'm thinking about the obvious one is your bed. Sometimes when you travel and you come home and you're like, my bed, right? Or being able to set the temperature of your house where you want it. Those are little things.
Like I don't care about stuff like that. I can sleep anywhere. As long as it's warm, I'm okay. But I think it's because our routines are all concentrated on growth, we are, with all that we do, we are trying to better ourselves. You know, it's like every meal we do is thought through, and and time in the sauna is very intentional, and the workouts, and then the people that we choose to spend time with, it's those are the very carefully selected very special people that we feel so blessed to be around. So I think it's just all by design. That's why it feels so good to be here. Like, none of it is accidental.
Yeah. And the thing that I want to appreciate also when we say that is that there's certainly seasons of life where you may be in a position right now where there are certain things in your world that you can't design right now because of, I don't know, whatever circumstances you might find yourself in. And so I know that I speak for Tatyana when we say this together, is that respectfully, there are seasons of life, and sometimes you're in a cold, dark winter season where it feels like nothing's going your way. I'm sure you felt that way, literally and figuratively, in New Jersey, where when we were living there, it was not a life by design for Tatyana, and that was really affecting you, and it was affecting our ability to connect together and to lead as parents. And so, it's not always ideal. And then there are times when you get a chance to make decisions, bold moves. And I kind of argued against moving to Austin initially because it just didn't feel like the right time. We were putting out the Front Row Factor book, and it just felt like there's so much going on. And Tatyana really moved that forward in such a positive way. I'm so grateful for that. So anyway, I just wanted to say that if you're out there and you're in a season where you are living a life by design, hey, props. You deserve credit and recognition for designing and getting that. And if you're in a place where you feel like you're a little handcuffed, or that you're not in a place to be able to make certain decisions, hang in there, right? Seek support in that space of life, because sometimes it's just not going your way. Life's throwing you curveballs. You're dealing with massive challenges, and those are real. Somebody out there listening right now knows somebody who just got diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. That's a very real thing. Your world can be turned upside down in a moment. So it's important to both honor and recognize the struggles, and it's also good to celebrate the victories. And there's certainly nothing wrong with celebrating when things go well. You want that in your life, and you want that for other people, but you also want to be sensitive to the fact that it doesn't go well for everybody at all times. Let's switch gears a little bit. There's quite a few things I want to ask you about. I want to talk about Russia. So Tatyana, a little prep here is that in case you are new to the podcast or started listening, Tatyana grew up in a town called Krasnoyarsk in Siberia, left right around 17, yeah, and moved to the States, went to the University of Georgia in Athens, and that was your introduction to the U.S., and then eventually ended up following a guy to New Jersey, and thank God you guys didn't work out. And we met, and that was 13 years ago, which is really cool. But you go back to Russia almost every year. We've missed a few. And there's been times when Tatyana's gone solo, and there's times when you've taken the kids. You've taken the kids more than not. And I think that's great because both kids are bilingual, so they're fluent in Russian, which is great. And but you're going back again, this time solo. Tell everybody about that trip. How excited are you? Why do you go back? What's important about that to you? Because I think that's important, by the way, for our whole family. And I can speak to how it impacts me and the boys, but you speak to perhaps how it impacts you.
Yeah. Well, I am sad that I'm not taking boys, honestly, because that trip is a gift for them as much as it is for me. And seeing them just being submerged in the Russian language, in a different culture, big city, and all the relatives that they only get to see once a year that adore them, and all little cousins, because my mom had like 7 brothers and sisters, so there's an abundance of aunts and uncles and cousins, and of course them the Russian language comes back to them. They start speaking so much better when they're there. That feels really good. But from the point of view of connecting with the people in Russia, in 2 weeks without the kids, it's probably going to be just as much as if I went with kids for 6 weeks, right? Because when I'm there with kids, I end up doing a lot of kid stuff. And then my, older aunts and uncles can't really keep up. So this time going solo, it's going to be just a focused time with my relatives, with elder, and, with good friends. And really, really looking forward to this time. I'm one of those moms that I need a break from my children. And when I leave, I feel very good about leaving. I don't look back. I don't feel worried. I feel like my children are in good place. And I also honor John for stepping up when I'm gone and taking over, because then he has to work and make lunches and do the homework, entertain them and love them and tickle them. So and he does it so well. He does it so well. Well, maybe the teeth don't get brushed as well as I'd like to. That bothers me a lot. But everything else he pretty much rocks. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you. It's really sweet that you let me do that. It's very special. Thank you.
Love you. I would also add that the first time Tatyana went to Russia by herself, I remember sitting down and she's like, "Hey, I have a relative that's not doing well from a health perspective, and I really feel the need to go back." And I said, "Hey, no problem, go." And I said, "How long are you thinking about going for?" And she said 2 weeks. And I remember looking like, I looked confident, I'm sure. I'm like, "Yeah, of course." But inside I was going, "What? 2 weeks? Like, I don't know if I could live for 2 weeks without you." And yet I remember a couple of emotions around that. One is when you left, I had this deep sense of, sometimes, let me say this, sometimes you can't wait for somebody to leave because you think they're the cause of all your problems or whatever, and you blame the person. But then the minute you left, I was like, there is a void. There is a massive void in our life. There's a massive void in our house. And it was painful when you left. And certainly I needed to up my game. I needed to step up what I was doing, because you do a lot around the house with the boys in our life. You do a lot. And in this particular case, 2 weeks went by and I was so grateful that you were gone, because I missed you. And that's a good thing, because I got time with the boys in a way that I've never gotten time with the boys. I got a deeper sense of appreciation for what you do. There was 100 reasons why it was the best thing ever. I remember telling the front row dads in our, when we were chatting about the whole thing, I was telling everybody, I was like, this is the best thing ever for me, for our kids, for you. So everybody needs time away. Everybody needs space. The dad needs space. The mom needs space. Even kids need space. Everybody, life is it's a flow of whether it's ups or downs or in and out or whatever it is. It's always a breathing. The life, the breath of life, which is you've got to get close to somebody and you've got to get distance from that person. And that together and getting apart and getting together and getting apart is the breath of life. I think that's really what it is. And that's the rhythm that we need to be in. And whatever is right for, each family out there, of how much time you need apart and together. And that's all something you got to figure out. That's the ingredients that go into making a recipe that works for you guys.
This time it's working out really well, because I come back for being gone for 2 weeks in Russia, and then I think literally next day you leave for a 10-day silent retreat.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So the timing is very interesting.
I feel like we're definitely going to miss each other.
Oh yeah.
That's a long time. I don't know if we've ever done. Have we done that? Well,
Yeah,
you went to Russia with the boys for a couple months one time. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a big thing. Let's talk about some of these other things we made notes of. House hunting. I wanted to talk to you about that because we're in a place of thinking about a home. So and I feel like that's going great, although we don't have a lot of clarity. So this isn't hey, we got it all figured out, but we moved to Austin. We decided to rent for a little while to get to know the area and decide where we wanted to be. But what are you excited about when it comes to the house? Talk about that for a moment. Where are we with that?
I don't know. I'm not super excited about it, actually, because it sounds like a lot of work too. And yeah, I'm not really excited about it.
Well, maybe then the question is, maybe share with the guys what's going through your mind right now about where to buy, what to buy. There's a lot of questions to be. Maybe you could even articulate what questions you're wrestling with when it comes to the house. You maybe even talk about the idea of the home with the tiny homes, and then how far we live away from the city, and right, all those things.
Yeah, that's why this is not very exciting, because there's so many questions, and the formula is not solved right now between, where we want it to be and what school and how close to downtown and how much land, and it's just really all. It's a lot to consider. It's overwhelming. I even considered moving out like half an hour away from town and buying like a 5 acre, is it called acres?
Yeah.
5 acres land, and then putting the tiny homes on it and turn it into like a small tiny home community and then renting it out to people. So, but still, I'm excited about that idea. But I'm realizing that, not a good timing. So I'm gonna put it on maybe for 5 years from now. I will revisit that. Um, yeah, no, it's good. It's all really good problems. So blessed.
Yeah. And I think that the value, by the way, for anybody listening is that, you know, in the conversation of where do you live, there's the questions of what do you value,
Oh yeah.
right? It's what do you value? And the conversation that we're into right now is, all right, you got 7 days out of the week, let's say, and what do you do all 7 days of the week? How many days of the week are you in the city, right? How close do we need to be there? How many days of the week are you at the gym? Where and what gym do you love? How many days of the week do you want to be in nature or on a trail or at the grocery store or whatever it would be? And thinking about that, where do your friends live and how often are you going to see them? Right. So what about the school? What do you value about that school? All those questions are value questions. And then there's, where do you want that house to be? And of course, there's the question of the value of the home, right? Like how much do you want to spend? Should your life be built around, hey, live in the best house in the best neighborhood possible for you and your family, drive the least expensive cars, perhaps, right? Invest your money there. But then again, sometimes it's like, there are people that we know that have a lot of money and don't want to buy into the biggest house, the best neighborhood per se, the most valuable neighborhood from a dollar's perspective, because they don't want that much wealth in their kids' lives, right? There's so much to be considered around that. Yeah. Well, I was thinking about my buddy, Justin. We've had that conversation. So Justin lives in a beautiful home, but he could live in a house that's 2 or 3 or 4 times that value. I talked about it on, there's a show, by the way, guys, I can't remember what we titled it, but it's like, anyway, I'll make note perhaps in the show notes, but David Osborne was on our show, and David lives in a very nice neighborhood, but David could live in a house that's, much, much bigger or more valuable, but chooses not to because he values community more than anything else. So I think there's a lot of that's to be said about house hunting, but it's created a lot of really interesting dialogue for us around what do we value, where do we want to be, and what's important to us, which I think is a really valuable conversation. So I'm excited to see what happens. I feel like we need a pool. That's what I feel. Wherever we go, I think we need a pool. That's, I think, is a high priority, but we'll see.
Your best pool is your friend's pool.
The best pool is your friend's pool. All right, next thing, let's talk a little bit about the boys who may be coming in any moment now. I can hear them. That would be cool if we got a surprise from the boys. And let me, if they do interrupt, by the way, which would be a welcomed interruption, we'll bring them onto the mic. Let's talk about Tiger and Ocean. Mm-hmm. And so for anybody who's just started listening to our show, there we go. For anybody that just started listening to our show, we had a little technical glitch there. Our boys, Tiger is 10, Ocean is 4, going on 5 here, almost 5 in a couple months. But let's talk a little bit about school for them and what we're learning and what's going well as it relates to, let's say, Tiger, and how we're getting really involved in his education. And let's talk a little bit about Mary's and why we chose to keep him there, because how we're seeing our boys thrive. Can you comment on that a little bit?
Sure. Ocean is turning 5 in October, and he is all boy, lots of energy, lots of passion, very passionate about what he wants to do, and very resistant to doing what he doesn't want to do, and which all feels really age appropriate and feels right because he's just all spirit right now. So in our opinion, putting him in a system that would be, forcing him to sit down and learn how to write his name and count and, write letters would be forcing him to be something he's not. And then he would be resistant to it, and he would be destructive to to the rest of the kids, that want to do that stuff. They're into it. And then this is how, the labeling comes in. You're not good enough, you're destructive, you're too rowdy, you get sent to the back of the room. And that's what happened to me. I think that's what happens to a lot of energetic people, passionate people. It's just somebody is forced them into academics way too early. So I'm so proud of us to intentionally keeping him away from academic education, and just giving him the space to just roam and do whatever the heck he wants. And I feel like until we see the signs that he is interested in learning, we should not be forcing him into anything.
Yeah. And I think that, for me, there's a lot of strong opinions, obviously, around education and kids. And I think that what we've determined in the Brotherhood, in our conversations, is that you really just have to pay attention to each child and see where they thrive. I mean, the biggest thing is it's not an argument about whether or not it's public or private or Montessori or Waldorf or any of those things. It's a conversation about where does your child thrive, right? Where does your child learn the values that you feel are important? You don't want to mold your child into the person that you think they need to be. But you do want to pass along or help create a space where some important values can be given. Like, I was just in an event a couple of days ago, and Ryan Moran, who runs a conference called, it's a capitalism conference, capitalism.com, I think is the site. But Ryan was talking about how somebody asked him if he was, how he felt about his kids being entrepreneurs. And he goes, I don't care if my kids become entrepreneurs. Like, I just want my kids to be the best versions of themselves. Like, in fact, there's reasons why you don't want to be an entrepreneur as much as there are reasons why you do. It's not about that. It's about, now, are there certain skills that an entrepreneur might develop, certain values that are important for all people could benefit from that? Sure. That cross-pollination of values from one way of being to another, or one way of doing life. But what we've seen in Ocean specifically and in Tiger is what we notice are paying attention to the environments where they thrive. And I think that's why Ocean ends up at Mary's, and why Tiger, we're in a period right now of shifting his environment to create a place where he could thrive. Did you talk about, and I don't want to switch directions if you have more on that, but do you want to talk about for a moment, like, what's happening with Tiger with our involvement with math and reading and the progress that we're seeing?
Yeah. Well, that's definitely another thing that I'm very, very proud of us, of you, really, for what's been about 2 months now, that Johnny consistently works with Tiger on math, and and then there's reading time afterwards. So they spend about half an hour a day, sometimes more. And what we have noticed is that when before we started it, we were a little sad to see that Tiger's knowledge of math, we thought he should be academically, and where he was is absolutely, it doesn't match. And it's because we were too relaxed last year. We kind of took the teacher's words that he's just where he needs to be, and we didn't want to deal with homework, so we're like, well, whatever is fine. He seems happy, and then once we started paying attention, we realized that he's behind. I hate to use that word, but he should probably know his times table, but by the time he's 10. So, and then we realized that it has really nothing to do with, academics or his, like talent for math, but it has so much to do with like the muscle of focus is just not developed. Like for him, it's so difficult to sit down and self-motivate and then focus for the amount of time doing something he doesn't want to do, right? If he's super passionate about doing something, he's absolutely will spend time on it. But to do something that we're asking him to do, or he needs to do, he is so resistant. So we got committed to developing that muscle with him of doing something he doesn't want to do because it's needed to be done.
The thing that we've been talking about a lot lately is that, and we talk to Tiger about this all the time, is it's not about whether or not he has the ability to do math. Like if he knows, because he's going to live in a world where any Siri or Alexa can answer any math problem. Alexa just perked up. At any math problem can be done very easily. Right? So I'm not concerned that he's not going to find a way in life to be able to add these two numbers. But what I explained to him is that I'm interested in him learning how to learn. That the process of learning something new is what we're chasing, and the development or exercising his brain is what we're chasing, not that he'll be able to know all elements of algebra or calculus for the rest of his life. But like
his will.
Yeah,
his will
and motivation and just finding a way to set a goal and get something done. So that's what we've been chasing with the boys lately. That's what I'm obsessed with, is how do we make this fun? He said something to me really cool the other day. He says, because we're doing flashcards, and props also to Jocko Willink, who has the Way of the Warrior Kid book. That's an excellent book. And in that book, Jocko talks about how to learn things, and he talks about flashcards, and he talks about, there's a strategy there. The one that we're using right now is, hey, he does the flashcards. We move the ones he knows to one pile and the ones he doesn't know to another pile. And he's so excited to get through the pile where he gets all the numbers. And each day he's getting a little bit stronger and stronger. And last night he was going to bed and he said to me, he goes, I can't wait to wake up in the morning and do flashcards. Now that's a victory. That's a huge victory, right? And you could see the pride forming.
It's also the flashcards. I think part of the reason why it's working so well is because it's a group activity, and he's a social kid. Like for him, he loves connecting. So flashcards is a way of him to spending time with Papa, and then, seeing Papa being proud of him for getting the right answers. So that is working towards his strength right.
Yeah. And on that note, let's use that as a great transition to go talk about, because you just talked about strengths. Let's talk about what happened at Fambundance this last week. So quick pitch on, so everybody knows what we're talking about. So one of my front row dads, one of our lifetime members and an amazing friend, Mike McCarthy, and his incredibly talented and amazingly fun wife, Lindsay, they have an incredible family. I'm in such admiration of how they go after life. In the GoBundance community and the Fambundance community, they call that grabbing life big. It's such a cool group of people. And we had the privilege of spending 3 days with these families that all gathered together from all over the U.S. And essentially the goal is, how can we do life together, learn together, have fun together, laugh together? There was music. There was drums with our buddy Solomon Masala. There was a time when we were able to work on our values. There were time we were out on the boat, swimming on the lake. There's zip lining, and there was all sorts of stuff, right? It was a really incredible event from start to finish. Brother James was playing music there. And by the way, if you don't know Brother James' music, you want to go check that out on Spotify, because it's all positive affirmations. And so it's an incredible event. And all these people have gathered together. And one of the things that we did is Mike McCarthy walked us through this incredible exercise of determining our family values. And in order to determine your family values, oftentimes you need to look back and say, all right, where have we been at our best? What were the experiences in our life when we as a family felt that we were in flow state, that we were operating at our best? And there was this one moment, and maybe you could talk a little bit about this, but the moment where we were able to pour into Tiger, talking about his strengths. I have a lot of thoughts on that, but I'd love to hear, like, what do you think about that particular part? Because I think this is a valuable takeaway for all the dads out there. This is something you could do with your kids today. You could do this with your wife today. You could do this with anybody. You could do this with your employees, right, today, or a friend. This is a strengths acknowledgement. But talk. What do you remember about that?
Well, the exercise was that Mike gave us. One of them was go in a circle and focus on each other's strengths. So talk about what you think is your strength. And what happened with us, Tiger, John, and I, is we just put all the focus on Tiger and just poured all the love into him. And, we were writing what we love about him, what his strengths are on little post notes, and just putting it on the billboard. What is it called? No, what is it called? The whiteboard, whatever. And so the whiteboard was then covered with all the post-it notes that were the great things about Tiger. And he was just grinning from ear to ear. and also getting a little shy, saying okay, 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 well,
Enough about
maybe,
me. Enough
yeah,
about me.
well, can we now talk about what's great about you, Papa? And it just felt so good, and it felt so right, um, because sometimes we just forget to focus on the strengths. Yeah, and ironically, just a couple of days ago, I was talking to Tracy Osborne, who mentioned the book that she's reading, and the book is, catch a kid doing the right thing and really acknowledge that. Or even if he's not doing anything right, but he's just not doing anything wrong, acknowledge him on that. So just pour the love into him and build him up on all the things he's doing great. And then I got in a car leaving her house, and then I saw on Blinkist, I saw the same idea of the book only for grown-ups and leaders. How, you build up your team by catching them doing the right thing. And I realized that that's definitely a sign from above. I need to be doing a ton of that with my children, and probably some of that with John too. And then I realized that how well it works on me. And Johnny is like, really, you're a smooth operator when it comes to that. Like, I will notice you drop those things on me. And I'm like, ugh, I know what he's doing right now. He's doing all this positive affirmation. But then I'm like, but it feels good. Reinforcing me to want to do the right thing. So that works.
You're talking so well right now, baby.
It works. It works. Tell your kids about their strengths and tell them a lot.
Tell the guys about Blinkist real quick.
Oh yeah, it's a really cool thing. So I think it's like $100 a year subscription, and it's hundreds and hundreds of books, and all of them are in personal development, and it's like main ideas. You can either read it, or you can listen to it too. So you can listen to a book on average in 5 minutes. Which is kind of cool, because sometimes I will find myself reading a whole book and only grabbing like 2 main ideas from it. So the Blink is just doing it for you. They just like scoop up the big ideas and yeah, it's good.
Book summaries on your phone, and thanks to our good friend Hal Elrod for introducing me to that app. Yeah, it was totally killer. And Blinkist, by the way, just did a big round of fundraising, millions and millions of dollars. They're just crushing it. It's a great, great system. We're going to start doing things like that in our members community for our Brotherhood, for the guys who are part of the Brotherhood, and get access to a private membership area. We're going to start doing parenting book summaries there, which is going to be really cool. But that's some big stuff. I think we should wrap at that point. And this has been really fun. You want to do this again sometime? I love spending time.
We should talk about sex next time.
Drop us a line if you want us to talk about our sex life. Then comment. Here's my deal. We'll do that show if we get a couple of reviews in iTunes. Mention that. Say, hey, what about sex next time? And we'll dig into that show. That'd be fun. Let us know. Anyway, you want to say anything to close this out?
I love John Vroman.
Love you too, baby. Hey guys, if you're out there listening and you want to go even further into this information of how can we be the best husbands and fathers and family men possible, then a couple of things I want to let you know. Number one, join our Facebook group. Go to frontrowdads.com/Facebook. It's an open and free group. You can jump in there and join the conversation, ask your questions, share your resources. That would be a great start. Hey, I mentioned it earlier. I was kind of teasing around, but really would appreciate if you are digging the show, leave us a review in iTunes. frontrowdads.com/review will get you there. It means the world to us. We really appreciate it. Make sure to screenshot that. Send me an email to johnjon@frontrowdads.com so I can recognize you and say thank you personally. I really do value every single one of those reviews. And also, we are going to be opening up our membership again in November. We only open twice a year. The last time we opened, we had 30 men join our Brotherhood. This November, we're going to be opening up again. We'll probably have about 100 spots that open up for guys to join in. And I just want to say thank you to to all those guys out there who are helping get this message out to the world. Our grand vision for Front Row Dads is 100,000 members in 100 countries, and we want to build the best network of high-performing entrepreneurial style men who want to be family men with businesses, not businessmen with families. So we're grateful that you've listened today. We're grateful that you're part of this journey. Thanks to my gorgeous wife, Tatyana, for joining. I can't wait to do this again. This is a lot of fun. And hey, guys, let us know what's working for you and your families inside the Facebook group, and let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about on the show next time, or what type of guests you'd like to have on, or if you've got a suggestion for a guest, let us know that too. But that's it for now, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.